Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Catching Up to Fi. This is a special Wednesday episode with my co-host, Bill Yount. Bill joined our friend Doc G on the Earn and Invest podcast to talk about AI and helping you plan for your retirement. This is like his newfound love. He loves AI, so I'm so glad he got to do a panel style thing with Doc G, and we wanted to share it with you on our feed. And always remember that it's never too late to start, it's better late than never, and it's always the right time to catch up to Fi.
Welcome to Catching Up to Fi, a podcast on mindset, money, and life for late starters of any age on their journey to financial independence. I'm Bill, and I'm a late starter.
I'm Jackie, and I'm also a late starter, and we're your host. We're here to help you on your journey to financial independence, no matter where you're starting.
We're going to talk to experts, other late starters, and explore topics related to our mission.
Join us as we catch up to Fi together.
Hi, I'm Suzy B.
Howdy, folks. I'm Bill Yount, and this is the Earn and Invest podcast.
Hello and welcome to Current Events Thursday. On the last Thursday of every month, we discuss breaking or maybe even broken financial news with both an expert as well as community members. Community members have volunteered to add the perspective of the common man or woman behind the podcast player, but of course, we know that Earn and Invest listeners are anything but common. We are joined by expert Bill Yount, emergency room physician and creator and co-host of the Catching Up to Fi podcast. From our community, we have Suzy B. Bill and Suzy, welcome to Earn and Invest. Today, we are discussing an article by Peter Burns from Go Banking Rates titled, I Asked ChatGPT What to Do If I'm Retiring in 5 Years. Here's what it said. Peter writes, as you approach your 60s, you'll have to make a lot of decisions that will impact how you live in retirement. If you still have 5 years before you make the leap, for example, there are things you can do to set yourself up for a comfortable lifestyle. For some perspective on the topic, I asked ChatGPT how to prepare for retirement 5 years before it happens. This is what it said. Suzy, I want to start with you. First and foremost, I found that when I'm looking for expertise in anything, it's really easy to go to ChatGPT. For instance, I'm looking at writing a mortgage myself for my son for buying his first property. And how do I figure out how to write a mortgage agreement? You just have ChatGPT do it. Suzy, are you finding you're doing this with financial questions yourself?
I haven't been. Maybe I should. I would say I dabble cautiously early, but I don't go full in until either I have an absolute use case that it fits or I find some tried and true reason I should be there.
Bill, what are you finding with your late starters? Catching Up to Fi speaks to people who started maybe a little bit later in the trajectory in figuring out financial independence. Are they adapting and using AI to start getting some of these answers?
Well, this is a timely topic, actually, because I just turned 60 and I'm in those 3 to 5 years in transition to retirement. I can proudly say that just the other day, I was told that my numbers match and I could retire tomorrow if I wanted to. So wow. This is an extremely timely topic, and I have been catching up for about 7 or 8 years, and I just found out that I might have caught up. So, I've been playing with ChatGPT as a podcaster and as a personal finance interested person. I've been fascinated in this conversation that you can have with this artificial intelligence. It's both scary and enlightening at the same time. I mean, I've asked it to help me construct retirement portfolios, and then you have to kind of use it as a thought partner because, like in everything, you have to trust but verify. You don't know where it's pulling all this information. You don't know the accuracy of it. But I also use it for creating a podcast, for example. How do I find out about my guests? How do I create a chatty introduction? How do I put together a run of show? This tool is going to crush Google. It is the modern search engine for really a thought partner to help you find out what do I know, what don't I know, how do I fill in the holes? But the scary part is, do I act on this information or not?
It is kind of a scary part. And I think it's something we all struggle with because it comes out with such great answers. Peter, in this article, uses it to give us the answers about what to do when we are 3 to 5 years away from retiring. Suzy, let's talk about your personal situation. How close are you to financial independence / retiring? And more importantly, how many years before you retire do you think you need to start planning for it? Because Peter is talking about 5 years before. Does that mirror what you've tried to do?
I'm probably at most 5 years away, possibly sooner. I have had retirement on my mind since I started working. So maybe I'm in the minority. So it's not something I've adopted, as I've gotten closer. And maybe it's because I've had parents who were able to retire early and have shared the benefits of it with me. And I'm like, that's a goal of mine. You learn by example.
Suzy, do you feel like you're starting to think, maybe I'm 5 years away. Are you starting to adjust or adapt your asset allocation? Or do you think you're going to just leave things the way they are to retirement?
That's a question I have weighing in my head right now. I think based on the third point that this author makes about plan your income. So I think that's sort of the step that I'm in right now, knowing where my income comes from. Do I maybe move into safer investments in some portions of my investment, like the Roth side or the non-Roth side?
Bill, what Suzy is talking about makes me think a lot about asset allocation, right? And so you're dealing with a lot of people who feel like they started late. And so they're looking at returns and they're like, I want to get to a place where I'm getting greatest returns possible. On the other hand, there's this idea that once we get 5 years out, 3 years out, 1 year out, that maybe we want to increase our bond allocation and have a little bit of a more defensive posture. How early do you think we should start making these more defensive moves in preparation for retirement?
No, I completely agree with the 3 to 5 year window. I think, retirement is pre-retirement, go, slow go, no go. There's 4 to 5 phases to it. When we're in the accumulation phase, yes, it's, pedal to the metal, full gas on, say 100% equities is sort of the moniker that most people ascribe to, 1 to 3 funds. But as you sort of start looking at, I've won the game, and as William Bernstein says, when you've won the game, stop playing. And that's true. Some people just play on through and they stay 100% equities, and that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, I'm going to diversify my asset allocation. I don't know what the economic weather is going to be in retirement. I want my portfolio to perform in the major differences of recession and growth. So yeah, I really think it is a time to reflect. And I do think the asset allocation in retirement ideally is different than your accumulation allocation. Traditionally in the FIRE community, not so. But I think people are more and more interested in, okay, I'm in a wealth preservation mode. I don't want to grow it to the sky. I want to spend money while I'm in retirement. I want, say, a higher range of safe withdrawal rates. And in order to do that, 100% equities, if you look at the math and the data, is not the solution.
Suzy, you talked about thinking about like where I want my money in the Roth space versus the traditional space, but you didn't mention this idea of equities versus bonds. Do you stumble a little bit on this idea of maybe I have to get more defensive as I get closer to retirement?
I don't, because of my particular situation. I will have a pension, so I feel like that takes my bond space. I think it's very individual, depending on what you have to offset the risk. So maybe you've got some real estate and I think also your end goals matter. I don't have dependents, maybe I don't need to be as safe. Whereas if you want to leave some legacy, maybe you do want to. So I think there's factors that are nuanced per person.
Suzy, have you done a lot of thinking about how much you want to withdraw once you're retired? Like, are you looking at safe withdrawal rates? Are you trying to maximize how much you can pull every month? Or kind of what has value for you when it comes to what your spending situation is going to be after you retire?
I guess I'm coming at it in terms of thinking of lifestyle. Is my lifestyle going to change? And therefore, is the cost associated with the lifestyle going to change? And I think I'm landing on not so much. So I'm right in the midst of thinking about this right now. And, I want to talk to others who have gotten there before me and maybe had the same assumption, but the results were different, to see what I'm missing.
Well, Bill is one of those people who happens to be right where you might be right now, right? Bill said, well, I just did the numbers and it looks like I'm possibly there. Bill, as you were right on the precipice of deciding how soon and when you could retire, thinking maybe I'm right at financial independence right now, are you feeling more a feeling of abundance or scarcity?
Both. I think right now in the market is what's going on in my brain and my heart and my gut. It's kind of like fear and greed are holding hands and running forward. So yes, we've been at market highs, and you want to transition into a retirement portfolio when you're at market highs. So, if you're at that precipice and you plan on diversifying for wealth preservation, this is a good time to do it. So yeah, I'm in that, right in the thick of it right now. My head is swimming with numbers, but at the same time, you've got to step back, take perspective, and realize, okay, my number may be there, but am I ready to retire from a personal, emotional, physical standpoint? Do I have a plan? Am I working on those other assets in my life to sort of make sure that I have purpose, meaning, identity, and connection? Echo, echo, echo. In retirement? I guess I've read your books, Jordan. So in reality, what I'm saying is, my plan is to keep the active income going for the next 3 years, and then turn that active income dial down over the subsequent 2 years as I turn the passive income dial up. I see it as a glide path of shift from active to passive, and that allows me the time and space to get my head straight, get my body straight, get my habits reorganized, because it's a reinvention of yourself when you transition from, required work to work if you choose to.
Bill, explain to me a little further this difference between active and passive income when you hit retirement. We all think of passive income as income through things like real estate or side hustles, things where we might not do a huge amount of work, yet the money comes in. In this case, though, are you talking about passive income or inactive income, meaning cashing out equities and spending down, or are you talking about new revenue streams?
Really about spending down and relying on your portfolio, and not having to have your butt in the chair, in the ER, taking care of patients in order to earn money. So I'm going to do both at the same time. I may turn on the portfolio a little bit as I dial down the number of shifts I work. And so there will be sort of an even flow. The money will flow from active income decreasing as passive income increases. I don't think it needs to be cold turkey from one day to the next. I think that's actually a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. We're so great at seeing everything as black and white, but most of the truth lies in shades of gray. A little disclosure here, Peter's article quotes ChatGPT, and I'll tell you right now, ChatGPT tells us kind of 4 things that we should be thinking about 5 years out from retirement. 1, know your net worth. 2, determine your goals. 3, plan your income. And 4, get mentally and emotionally ready. The reason why I'm reading all that off is because we're going to go completely off script and not necessarily talk about these in order, or maybe even not address all of them. But that's what ChatGPT suggested. Suzy, I want to concentrate on something Bill just said. Fear. Tell me about how you're feeling as you contemplate retiring. Are you feeling a sense of fear, and how is that kind of manifesting itself in your plans?
I guess I don't necessarily feel fear. My unknown is more timing. When I will be comfortable enough to pull the plug, and I tend to be cautious in a lot of areas of my life. And I guess I fear I'm feeling over cautious in this one. When is enough? And am I going to wait too long to get there? Right. I guess that's my biggest fear. It's not a financial fear. It's did I get there and not hit the exit strategy at the right time and waste time earning money that maybe will never be spent.
Why is that scary to you? I mean, a lot of times, a lot of people are afraid they're not going to have enough money and they're going to run out. And nowadays, I'm thinking of Ramit Sethi or Bill Perkins and Die with Zero. There's this new renewed thought that, no, maybe it's the exact opposite. Maybe we're not going to spend the money. Tell me materially, because we were talking about earlier and you're kind of like, well, I don't think my spending's really going to change that much after retirement. What do you think is kind of the biggest fear about what if you did die with $1 million? Would it be a tragedy?
I don't think it would be a tragedy. I would find good causes for it to go to. I guess I just crave freedom so much that most of us think about optimizing, and I think I'm trying to make the mental shift of, I have been building for so long. Can I pivot to optimize my freedom, my, everything I want to do when I can be on my own schedule?
Bill, I like this idea of freedom, and it does get to one of ChatGPT's points is determine your goals. Have you struggled much with trying to figure out what that post-retirement life looks like? Do you know kind of what your daily activities are going to be?
I mean, this is a great question. This is really the question of freedom. And in talking with George Kinder on our show, he asked us the rhetorical question, so when are you free? And everybody presumes you're free after you retire. Well, that's not true, is it? You're free in the moment. You're only really true and free in the moment. And you need to embrace freedom while you're on the journey. You need to embrace freedom in the moment that you're at, whether you're working or not, because that will transition with you into true time freedom, which is, one form of freedom. I do struggle with it. I've been trying to create things and using my creative brain. The podcast is one thing that will carry forward. Volunteering at our children's hospital with our dogs, being on the board there, doing things prior to pulling the plug or jumping out of the plane, which I have done, is you've got to do that. Talk to Fritz Gilbert of Retirement Manifesto. This is what he's all about. It's the soft sides of retirement that we don't focus on. Everybody gets hyper focused on optimizing spreadsheets, numbers, when that is really the foundation of what you really want to create in your last third of your life. I mean, right now I just turned 60. The clock is winding down. Every day really does matter. You want to find joy in every day, and just like doing this show with you. So there's so many things at play here, so many balls in the air. In order to help organize my thoughts, believe it or not, as a DIYer, I'm engaging with a financial advisor.
Suzy, one of the things I love about my wife is she always proves me wrong. So I was trying to be all experty with her before she retired. And I kind of made the point that we all make is, well, you kind of want to know what you're retiring to. And she looked at me and she said, you know what? I don't even think I can think about that until I get a few months of rest. And I've been hearing this more and more. Like 50% of people tell me that it would drive them crazy to retire and not have a plan of what to do next. And then the other 50% say, well, I don't know if I even emotionally or mentally can make that plan until I take 4 to 6 months of rest. And then after resting, I think I can start thinking about what I want to do and who I want to be. Suzy, do you think you're going to need a plan? Like when you say, okay, I'm there and I'm retiring January 1st, 2026, not to lead you anywhere with that date, but I'm going to retire January 1st, 2026. Do you think you're going to have a set plan of what the next few months look like?
I think I already have one.
Really? What is it? Tell us. What is the plan?
I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I'm not sure I'm ready to share details, but like Bill said, I have a few creative projects, and, they're probably not interesting to anyone but a small community around me, but there's things that I am super excited about doing. I have about 3 of them that I'm trying to sneak in on evenings and weekends right now. And by the time I get to it, along with my regular, household chores and just keeping things going in my life, I don't have the time and energy. So I am super excited to, rid the 40 plus hour work week and embark on this. in my mind, I'm very much on my days off. Mornings are productive, chores, exercise. Afternoons, I tend to want to learn something or work on something creative, and evenings I relax. And I just see that sort of wake up and over cadence to allow me to get into this creative work that I want to do.
Suzy, ultra important question here. When you're not working anymore, what time are you going to wake up in the morning?
Probably 5:30. That's when I'm getting
5:30. Okay, that's like me. Bill, when you walk away, when you're not doing emergency medicine anymore, when you're living the life of freedom and abundance, what time do you think you'll wake up every morning?
Well, that's an interesting question because right now it's variable. I'm doing nights, weekends, and holidays, and my sleep schedule is all over the place. It's not healthy, but I do sort of enjoy retirement while I'm working because I work 10 shifts a month, and then when I've recovered from the work, I have days where I have to structure my day. So I have sort of these retire days and work days, and it's sort of a blend already. So it allows me, as opposed to being a 9-to-5 person, which I am not, never have been, I kind of have those spaces in the middle of the week or on weekends that other people may not. But I definitely will sleep in. To answer your question, there's no question. I'm more of a night owl, and I will sleep till I'm done. As you get older, sleep becomes sort of a different biological issue, but it's important. You've got to sleep, rest, exercise, eat well. These are all things you should be doing before you retire and not just wait for retirement to do it. Because as we know from Peter Attia, we may put things off until we're 60, 65. But if we don't have the health span to enjoy our lifespan, what's the point of all this money we've accumulated, right?
We are talking a Peter Burns article from GoBankingRates.com. I asked ChatGPT what to do if I'm retiring in 5 years. Here's what it said. And we are joined by Bill Yount of Catching Up to Fi and Suzy B, a community member. We are going to take a short break. I'm Doc G, and this is the Earn and Invest podcast. Today, we are discussing on this community episode an article by Peter Burns from Go Banking Rates titled, I asked ChatGPT what to do if I'm retiring in 5 years. Here's what it said. As I said before, there were 4 categories ChatGPT suggested. 1, know your net worth. 2, determine your goals. 3, plan your income. 4, get mentally and emotionally ready. Bill, let's talk about plan your income. Undoubtedly, one of the most difficult things actually for decumulation. Tell me about what you think your strategy is and maybe some broad strategies, because I hear all sorts of things. I hear the straight, safe withdrawal people that are like, I'm just going to sell my equities on a regular basis. I hear people talking about bucketing strategies. I've heard people pretty much suggest, well, I'm going to have some side income. Other people have a pension. What are you thinking for yourself? And generally, what do you think the options are?
Well, this is an important part of it. You go into accumulation with an accumulation plan. You have your comprehensive financial plan, your investor policy statement, hopefully written down. And then that changes. It's kind of like your estate plan. You got to review it every 3 to 5 years or a major life change. And, retirement, that's an identity shift. That's a whole income stream shift. So you've got to look at this. And that's why I engaged with a financial advisor, because I found it a little overwhelming. And I think it's okay as a DIYer to get professional advice and say, you know what? Run the numbers with me. Tell me if I'm seeing this right. Do I have any blind spots? And then what do my expenses look like now? That's unknown. You can figure that out. What is my lifestyle expense now? And what does it look like in expense planning for the next 30 years? And then you work backwards. Okay, what kind of portfolio do I need to achieve those expenses and not have to see such a hit with a 50% market drawdown? And that might mean diversification. You got to plan for Social Security. You got to plan for Suzy's pension. Those are streams of income that, yes, are your bonds. Social Security is a great backstop for late starters. I mean, it's a inflation-adjusted annuity that is longevity insurance. And when you take take it is important. That's a critical decision and a critical part of your financial plan. You got to bridge the gap to that. And for me, I'm going to take it at 70. I'm the higher earner in our family. But for my wife, who may have a little health issues and have more longevity or less longevity on our side, we're probably going to take hers early. And so there's strategy involved here that is critical to sort of put together. Now, the best plan you make, it's already wrong. The thing with the plan is you've got to review it every year. And I think it's really good to have a thought partner. That could be ChatGPT. And that's an incredibly powerful tool. It could be, but it could be and should be a person who's maybe been through it that you're taking on as a mentor to say, this is what I think. These are my numbers. Am I right or am I wrong? And then I'll give you some feedback. And that's where the FI community comes in. We go to these Choose a FI events, we go to economies, we see case studies, and you have the ability in this community to ask the questions. You're not alone in this journey. And it's scary, right?
Suzy, tell me about financial advice. I mean, it sounds like you kind of know what your plans are. It sounds like your pension will be a regular source of income. Do you have currently financial advice? And do you feel like as you get closer to retirement, you'll start using it?
I do. I work with a financial advisor who advises a lot of government sector people. So what I find lacking on the internet or from standard sources is how to incorporate the pension and, what actions you should take knowing that you have that income stream. So it's been really helpful, especially since every pension is nuanced and different, to find somebody local who has worked with other people in the same pension system or pension. I have dual pensions from a couple jobs, so balancing the two. Also, the financial advisor I work with works with a lot of, I'm not in the public safety sector, but he does. So a lot of early retirees, because police and fire tend to retire early. So how do you plan for the unknown of healthcare? And I think that's my biggest unknown, because it's a moving target right now.
Yeah, Bill, speak to that. I mean, I know you must struggle with exactly what I was struggling with when my wife left her job 6 months ago. There was our easy access to cheaper, not cheap, but cheaper healthcare. Bill, have you started kind of mapping out exactly how that's going to fit into your spending, right? Because a lot of people don't realize, the two blind spots I think a lot of retirees have is one, spending, and then the other is they forget they're going to have to pay taxes. So they're used to having taxes withdrawn for their paycheck, and they don't think of it as a cost center. But when you retire, and especially if you start spending down on equities, et cetera, and if you happen to be a high spender, you're going to have to pay taxes still, and that's got to go into your yearly budget.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of blind spots, and you've named both of them. For the fire people, healthcare is a huge issue. Maybe less of one than you think, and going through the exchange and getting your credits, you can hack that and control your income to reduce your healthcare expense as you're working through your bronze plan that now has access to HSA accounts till 2. For me and for late starters in general, I think it's not as big of an issue because we have a shorter time frame that we have to bridge to, say, Medicare. That may be an advantage in a way. I'm fortunate in my situation that I'm a 1099 independent contractor, so we're responsible for our own benefits. They're unlinked to the job, and I live in a state that has a great plan through the Farm Bureau. That's, it's not an ACA plan. We had to underwrite into it, but it is cheap. And it worked really well when we went through a health crisis last year with my wife. So I'm very happy with our healthcare situation. We're lucky that we're in a state that has access to Farm Bureau plans. And I would encourage people to look at that. That's an unknown issue. And so we'll transition at 65. I'm 60 now. So we'll stay on this plan till my wife hits 65, and we'll do traditional Medicare for a lot of reasons, A, B, D, and a Medigap plan. That's the way we want to go. And we've talked to experts like Danielle Kunkel-Roberts of Boomer Benefits that are going to help us navigate that quagmire of alphabet soup. It's a huge issue, maybe less so for late starters. So, we're going to do a show actually on this question. So, and it's an important topic, Suzy. So tune in. We'll be talking about it too.
Yeah. And, I've heard vaguely about Farm Bureau insurance over the last 5 years. Or if you're in the financial independence community, there are the regular options that people talk about when it comes to healthcare. But the truth of the matter is there are not a lot out of the box options that really are a little bit less expensive. But if your state or community offers Farm Bureau insurance, I hear it's actually a much cheaper way to get healthcare. Suzy, any other blind spots you're worried about? You talked about healthcare, and that certainly seemed to cause some stress. Any other blind spots, spending that you're worried could blow up or cause problems in retirement?
I don't think so. I guess for me, I don't see my day-to-day life changing that much. I don't have a travel bug. I don't have expensive hobbies. I have really exciting cheap hobbies and interests. So I feel like I can contain those costs. And it's not that I've decided to live frugally on purpose. It's just where I gravitate to. So maybe I'm fortunate in that regard.
Bill, tell me what you think it's going to look like 6 months after you retire.
Well, that's going to be a gradual process, as I mentioned. It's not going to be sudden. The hard date is 65. It's sort of a natural date, given that I'm 60. It could happen anytime sooner. We're prepared for that. Lose a job, health issue, whatever happens. It really feels good to be at that point where I go to work now because I choose to. I walked into work the other day and I'm like, it's okay. I want to be here. There's a purpose for this. I am making a difference. It's part of my identity because, retirement's an identity crisis. If you don't manage the identity issues, you can get wrapped up in your 9 to 5, the social outlets that you have. And, your identity is going to transition, and it's going to be a wonderful rebirth and creative process. It's not something to be feared. It's something to be embraced. And you don't know what's going to happen. There may be a podcast falls out of the sky and all of a sudden you have a message to talk about.
I mean, that's a good point. ChatGPT, when asked these very specific questions, doesn't really incorporate this idea that maybe I'll get involved with something that'll make money again, which will blow up all the other concerns. Catching up to FI, maybe a book about your life. I mean, all of these things could actually create revenue in such a way that you weren't expecting. Do you think it would move the goal line or change your priorities? I mean, in a sense, you're already thinking, this is how much I'm going to spend in retirement, and here's how my income is going to happen. And you might find that you don't actually have to liquidate equities as much because you're having this income coming you didn't expect. Or even more, maybe you're liquidating those equities to take first-class flights or take amazing vacations you weren't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Retirement Police is a famous article by Mr. Money Mustache where, a lot of the FIRE people have significant social media, blogs, podcasts, whatever, that, have side hustle income or real estate or whatever. So are they really not working? Are they really retired? Everybody defines that for themselves. I don't think I'm going to retire on our little podcast where we cover our costs. People think, it's a lucrative ordeal. Not necessarily, folks, but it's a labor of love. But it will carry me spiritually, emotionally forward. And at least we're covering our costs and I can pay for a conference or two to go to because of it. So, it pays it forward. But no, I think we do have to prepare for having our portfolio carry the heavy load until, say, Social Security, when it carries a little bit of a lighter load. Yeah, will be people that are drawdowners pretty much primarily. And that's fine.
Suzy, any thoughts of having some extra or new or different income in retirement? Any consulting or side hustling?
It's not impossible. I'm not counting on it. I like the work that I do. It's challenging. I just see pivoting it into different subject matter that probably is more of a nonprofit venue that I would just give away the skills because I would want the organization that I'm working with to be successful.
Coming back to the article, I'll start with Bill and then I'll come back to you, Suzy. Any major blind spots you think ChatGPT left out? I mean, it gave us these 4 propositions, things like know your wealth, your net worth, think about what your goals are, prepare emotionally. Anything else you think that they didn't cover or ChatGPT missed?
It doesn't cover physical health. It talks about mental and emotional. And one tip of advice we had when we asked for advice on our show from Nick Maggiulli, who wrote The Wealth Ladder, was, what tip do you have for late starters? He says, focus on your health. It gets harder and harder, as I have found, and I've not been a great person with this issue. If I'm going to live to 95, well, let's close the gap between when I really can't do the things I want to do and when I pass away, or end of plan, as people say. And unless you get it together in your 50s or early 60s, you may have a shorter health span, but still a long lifespan.
Yeah, I was about to say, Bill, I think you and I have known each other for 6, 7 years, maybe more than that. And I think you look younger than you did when I met you. I think figuring out FI, letting go of the stress, my bet is you're in better physical shape, physical and fiscal. But I'm looking at you right now going, yeah, you probably look younger than you did 6 years ago.
Well, it takes a weight off of you, doesn't it? You sleep better at night. Being fiscally in shape makes me a better doctor, because I don't have that mental load of, say, a debt to myself and taking care of myself. I can focus more on external stuff as opposed to internal stuff, and giving as opposed to receiving and needing. And that's what retirement, I think, is really about. It's a time of great giving of gifts, like Suzy said, with regards to, I don't need remuneration. I can help a nonprofit thrive with my skills. And that is a great purpose. It's, as a friend of mine, Frank Vasquez, says, he doesn't need to change the world or have a big, hairy, audacious goal. He just needs to help one person at a time. That's your little p purpose, Jordan. It's kind of like, there's a little parable of the starfish thrower where a guy walks along a beach and a kid's throwing starfish into the ocean, and there's a million on the beach, and the older gentleman says, well, that's useless. You're not making a difference. Well, and the kid says, it made a difference for that one.
Suzy, anything ChatGPT misses or you thought was lacking in the article? Any viewpoints that we need to add?
I do agree with your health side, but I felt like the article was basic, and that's fine, but I think it misses the nuance that we're each individuals. And to me, these were just sort of outline headings. But to solve for it for yourself, you really have to go deeper and do some soul searching.
Suzy, that's a great point. And I think it's a great place to end this conversation, and really sums up what I feel about what we've talked about in this episode. ChatGPT can be a great thought partner, but it doesn't really give great individual advice. In order to do that, we might need to hire experts. We certainly need to talk to our friends, our communities, and our families. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. What retirement looks like for you may look different than what it looks like for someone else. So even 5 years before, how we prepare might also look different. I want to thank you guys both for coming on the show. Bill, if people want to learn more about you or get to know Catching Up to FI, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, we hope we're everywhere. The big thing for us is we want to reach the people outside of the FI bubble. So I would ask everybody that's listening to this, tell 1, 2, 3 friends, you know what? If you're struggling later in life and you're feeling alone and isolated and ashamed, find Catching Up to FI. We have a great Facebook community that's about 20,000 people that share ideas, share their vulnerabilities, ask for tangible, actionable solutions. We have a podcast that comes out every Sunday, sometimes on Wednesdays. You'll find us on every podcast player at Catching Up to FI. And we have some socials, but Jackie Cummins-Koski is my fantastic co-host. I have to give her a shout out. She wrote the book on Fire for Dummies. She's a CFP. She gives our platform legitimacy because I'm just a white guy that's bald and looking younger every day. But, we welcome anybody and everybody to join us from 35 to 55. We hope we have something that you find palatable.
Bill Yount and Suzy B., thank you so much for being on Earn and Invest today.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. Earn and Invest is now part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Visit airwavemedia.com to listen and subscribe to this show as well as other fine podcasts. All right. right, I leave things running for the after. You know, it's funny, Bill, that you kind of made that announcement that you've recently now actually realized. I remember, again, knowing you from the beginning, it always seemed like you're like, man, I got started late. I'm just not going to get there. It must be really nice for you to look at the numbers and know that you kind of crushed it. Like you've, advanced your trajectory much faster than you thought you would.
It feels actually really appropriate to kind of come out of the closet again as a caught up to FI late starter. But you're not the first person I told. I actually told J.L. Collins yesterday. He's visiting in town. And
well, if you're going to tell someone the Godfather is probably an appropriate person to start with.
And he says hello, by the way. He and his lovely wife, Jane, are snowbirding down in Florida. They stopped by on their way down. And it's like coming full circle. I discovered the simple path to wealth back in 2016, 17. It was sort of a foundational thing for me to get curious on my journey. And, it's 8-9 years later. And I just want to tell people out there, it's absolutely possible. You won't believe it, but get it together, make a plan, get your accumulation plan down, and then you make your retirement plan 10, 12, 15 years later. It's really amazing.
And meanwhile, Suzy, you seem as chill as can be. Like, I get the feeling for Suzy, like nothing's going to throw her off.
Pensions are fantastic.
Yeah. It makes me sad that the government is changing in the sense that, you go into a government job and yes, you're not going to have the glitz and glamour and you probably won't have necessarily the high pay, but you're doing something for our country and you're going to be taken care of, or at least that was always the plan. This idea of firing lots of people from the government, all those kind of things just makes me sad because I think there are a lot of people dedicated like you, and the trade-off was well worth it. It's like I get to not only help our government, our state, our people, but then I also get to have some real financial security.
Well, and, I always thought I'd run it out because I have what they call a dual membership, but it counts time served in both organizations. I thought I'd run it out to 30 years. And this weekend, I did the calculation and I'm like, I don't know if I need to, but I need to fact check it to make sure my assumptions are okay.
Yeah. And I think, right, the military pensions. So I think a military too. So you're working the government, but right. But I think like in the same pattern, I think military is great. I can't speak to what you do during those 20 years, if you can make it to 20 years, right? Depends on where you're stationed, what you do, what role you play. But if it ends up being good for you, it's a great way to hit financial independence. And I would have never realized that until I started into the financial independence community and met a bunch of military people. And same, I would say, for people working the government outside the military is how good of a path it can be if you like your work.
Yeah. I mean, I look at you guys and from the medical profession and my medical professional friends, you guys really have purpose. I feel like I contribute. I work in the tech sector of the government side, so it's challenging, but I don't feel as connected that my job is my identity. So I feel like after work hours, I have been able to foster an identity outside of my career.
Yeah. Bill, go ahead.
Which I think has set me up pretty well for retirement to ease into it, where a lot of people have to reinvent themselves.
Bill, can you imagine setting the stethoscope down? Like what the day will be when you see your last patient or put your stethoscope on the last chest to listen to someone's heart? Can you imagine that day?
Yeah, I've started to think about that because the shifts are winding down. I could have a shift count, just like 1,500 days, and Carl Jensen, the countdown could start. And I'm glad it's, corresponding with the need to be free for retirement at a normal retirement age of 63 or so, like most people do. Yeah, to answer your question, the day I walk out of my last shift in the ER, the funny thing about it is we're kind of ghosts in medicine, and you'll be forgotten pretty quickly, not by the people that you worked with in the last, 5, 7, 10 years of your career, who've already said, we'll miss you when you retire. And that feels good. And it'll be hard to let that part go, the team, collaborative, esprit de corps. But, it becomes time, just like Vicki Robbins talks about, to hand the torch off to the next generation. And that's okay. You do get genetically wrapped up in the identity as a doctor, maybe too much so. And I'm interested actually in your thoughts on this too, Jordan, because you've done this. Your identity was much more as a creator than you thought as a physician. And I'm kind of navigating that route as well. The right side of my brain has been getting a lot of exercise, and it's got a long way to go.
I have to tell you, so I was burned out enough where I don't feel like I had that voltage drop of, oh my God, this is who I am and I'm not going to be that anymore. I guess one of the nice things about being a creator is that you still feel like you're helping people, but just in a different way, which is, I think, ultimately what everyone attaches to. You become a doctor because you're interested in medicine and you like the detective work, and there's all sorts of things or maybe you like working with your hands. But behind all of that, most people become a doctor because they truly want to help people. And so when you go from doing that to a content creator where you still feel like you're trying to help people, at least you get to maintain that identity. And then I eased that, of course, by continuing to do hospice, which I don't put stethoscopes on chests anymore. Like I take phone calls. There's a moment here and there where I miss it, where I remember what it felt like to be in the office, trying to make a diagnosis, trying to help a patient. And there are those moments where I kind of miss a little bit of it. But I found that it was a lot easier than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with burnout, as we first talked about when we first had our
all those years ago
together. And I've had to burn through burnout, and it's actually now a breath of fresh air. I'm kind of opening my coat, showing my Superman on my chest and saying, what? I'm going to enjoy the last days now. I mean, I really need to, and I made a difference the other day for a patient. I'm like, you know what? Somebody else may have done it, seen it, missed it differently. And, it feels good. And I may even negotiate at 63 when I really go to true part-time. I'll try and negotiate day shifts only, no weekends, no nights, no holidays. Totally. And then, dabble there for a little bit of structure. And I can use my skills at, say, 4 shifts a month to, make that difference still. But it's not the price. It's more of a side hustle. It's more of an active income portfolio. It's more of a transition to retirement where my portfolio doesn't have to get hit as hard, and it ameliorates risk. It's that bond-like income. So it will be hard to let go of, but physiologically, it will be time. There is no doubt in my mind.
So, Bill, as you know, we cannot do this show without our amazing staff and the people that help us put this on. And our editor is Fritz Brazard. We love them and they keep us going.
Yeah, Jackie, I mean, this show wouldn't have the quality it has without our folks, our peeps. And we'd also like to give you a few calls to action for the show. We love our community and we hope you love us back. If you would like to support the show and our mission to help late starters, you can do that at Buy Me a Coffee, which is a platform that allows you to make a donation. The link is in the show notes and on the website.
Check out the show notes for resources mentioned in today's show. Also, head on over to our website at catchinguptofy.com and check out our vetted resources, partners, and affiliates for discounts and their services, because we love sharing great deals.
Please share the show with others and head on over to our Facebook community to help us grow. If you prefer video, head on over to YouTube and watch the show there. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Catching Up to Fi. We would appreciate it if you could also leave us a 5-star review to help our message reach others.
And while we are financial educators that love to teach, remember that our content is for general education and information purposes only. We are not providing financial, legal, or tax advice. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making important decisions.
So, Jackie, we'll see our audience next time on Catching Up to Fi. Cheers.